Hey guys, Porcha here, and today I want to share with you my thoughts on, let me show you, Printers Jack Sublimation Ink. So a little bit ago, I transferred my Epson Echo tank from an inkjet printer to a sublimation printer, and Printers Jack was the first ink I ever used. So since then, I have had an opportunity to use two other brands, but every time I need a refill, I find myself going back to Printers Jack. So in this review, we are going to discuss the good, the bad, and the bottom line of Printers Jack Sublimation Ink for beginners. So let's go ahead and get started. I got my notes here. Now, I like to start with the good. You know, we always want to start with the strengths, right? So it's economical. So like I mentioned, this was the first ink I ever used, and one of the reasons that I picked it up was because it was inexpensive. So as of the recording of this video on Amazon, it is just $23. As a beginner, you do not want to spend a lot of money on a product that you may waste a lot of because you are practicing, right? So at 23 bucks for 4 bottles, I think that's decent, right? All right, ease of use. So like I mentioned a bit ago, I did convert my Echo tank, and I have the 2760 to a sublimation printer. So what I had to do was siphon out with a syringe the regular ink that came with the inkjet printer, and I cleaned out the tank, and then I was able to add my Printers Jack ink. The Printers Jack ink has a nozzle on it that's specific to the Epson Echo tank. So you just place the ink in the corresponding bay with its color. The ink guzzles down into the tank until it is full. It lets you know when it's full because it stops running into the tank. And at that point, you are done. So I think as a beginner, it is excellent to be able to easily get your ink transferred into the tank. No ICC profile necessary. If I can explain this properly, the printer and the ink need to communicate in order for you to get the best colors possible. So say for instance, if your red is dull, it may be because the ICC profile is off. If the red is coming out looking like purple, or purple is coming out looking like blue or something like that, there's something going on with the color arrangement there, right? Well, because Printers Jack is pre-calibrated to communicate with Epson Echo tanks, you don't have to worry about that. So of course, as a beginner, that's one less thing that is going to hinder you in moving forward into doing excellent projects, right? So I thought that was definitely a plus. All right, guys, so I want to talk about the bad now. So at this point, I don't really have any bad things to say about this ink, and like I say, at this point. So as a beginner, you want to practice, right? Because you are going to run into a ton of issues. Now, say for instance, you get your first printout and it looks super dull, and then you try to press it onto your substrate and you're like, okay, my God, where's the vibrancy? I wasted my money. There are so many things that could be going on. You may not want to immediately blame it on the ink. So you may not have used enough pressure. You may have used too much pressure. You may not have timed it right. Too much time, too little time. Your temperature may be too low. Your temperature may be too high. So if you take the time out to practice, you'll figure out quickly whether or not it's the ink or whether it's not, it's a part of your process. So don't write off Printers Jack right away. For that matter, any ink when you are beginning, because there are so many factors that go into getting the perfect press. Now guys, I've been doing a lot of talking. Before we move on to the bottom line, let's go ahead and do a really quick project with the Printers Jack ink and see how it comes out. All right, so guys, this is the image that I went on ahead and printed out. I got it from Etsy, and then I went in and made my own adjustments to it. But you'll see that I have torn the edges off so that the edges don't become pressed into the garment. We are going to press this image, and yes, it was printed with the Printers Jack ink, onto this hoodie. It's 100% polyester. So we are going to press for 30 seconds at 360 degrees. Let me move this a bit. I'm going to go ahead and line this up. So it's approximately 3 inches down from the neck of the shirt. I did create a center seam by pressing a line into the fabric there, and then I folded this image here so that all I have to do is line the two up and they are going to be straight. Fingers crossed, because things never work out the way you want them to. Okay, so our press is already hot and ready to go. And I do have this on heavy pressure. And then I'm just gonna hit enter and start our countdown. All right, guys, so what the goal is going to be right now is to get this out the way. What the goal is right now is to see how well the image translated from the paper onto the fabric. And we are pretty much looking for brightness and boldness and vibrancy and all that good stuff. Alright guys, I do believe that the Printers Jack Sublimation Ink has done exactly what we wanted it to do. The colors throughout this piece is really bold. That's what I was going for. I chose this particular design because it has a really great color story. I didn't want to go with like the basic colors of say red, yellow, and blue. I wanted something just a bit more vibrant, something with a little bit of more life to it. And I think that we accomplished that in this particular piece. So in that regard, I absolutely have no complaints. Again, just a reminder, this was pressed at 360 for 30 seconds and we got this much vibrancy out of the press, which is always what the goal is. Alright guys, so the bottom line, at the end of the day, I think that the Printers Jack Sublimation Ink is economical, it's really easy to use, and I appreciate the vibrancy in color. But as with any other product, at the end of the day, it's about what works for you. And the only way you're going to figure out what works for you is through practice, practice, practice. So before you write off any product or any ink, make sure you know that your settings are right. So guys, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on Printers Jack Sublimation Ink for beginners. If you got any questions, concerns, emotional outbursts, let me know. If you found this video helpful or even entertaining, you go ahead and give it a thumbs up. But as always guys, until next time.